everyone to the February meeting of the Warren County Board of Supervisors. Please rise while Supervisor Garrity leads us in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk will read the roll.
Mr. Leggett?
Here.
Mr. Diamond? Mr. McDevitt? Ms. Bramer?
Here.
Mr. Loeb?
Here.
Mr. Driscoll?
Here.
Mrs. Frazier?
Here.
Mr. Simpson?
Here.
Ms. Hogan?
Here.
Mr. Dickinson?
Here.
Mr. Merlino?
Here.
Mr. Strauss?
Here.
Mr. Weil?
Here.
Mr. Beatty?
Here.
Mr. McGowan?
Here.
Mr. Sopel?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Ms. Hyde?
Here.
Mr. Garrity?
Here.
Chairman Conover?
Here. We should all have received the minutes of our January 18 board meeting and the January 16 and January 31 special board meeting. Do you want to deal with these one at a time? Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of those meetings. Mr. Garrity, Mr. Dickinson on the second. Ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Report of Chairman of the Board. Extremely busy period. January 22nd, I attended a number of committee meetings, support services, environmental concerns and real property, county facilities. And on January 25th, additional committee meetings, economic growth and development, public works, health and human resources, tourism, and OCTAX. I did not attend laws and rules, but they also met. On January 28th and 29th, I attended the NISAC conference. It was a very interesting conference. I expect that some of the supervisors here today may speak to that conference. We did send out the resolutions that were adopted at the conference for everyone to review. On January 31st, of course, we held a special board meeting on the mortgage tax. We also held committee meetings on the same day, personnel and finance. There's legislation that will be coming forward shortly on the mortgage tax. February 13th, I attended the AGFTC meeting at Crandall Library, chaired by Supervisor Strau. On February 14th, I attended the Warren County Highway Superintendent's Luncheon. It was an excellent luncheon, very informative. Had an opportunity to speak to most of the highway superintendents that were there, as well as the people that support their programs. If you ever have an opportunity to attend the Highway Superintendent's Luncheon, I would strongly recommend you do so. You can contact Kevin Hajos, and he can let you know what the calendar looks like. That afternoon, after that luncheon, I attended a retirement party for Matt Sprout, 36 and a half years at Up Yonder Farm, or with the county, including Up Yonder Farm. When he first began there at Up Yonder Farm, it was basically a farmhouse and property that we had acquired. And today, of course, we have a wonderful environment and education center. And if you haven't seen or been to Up Yonder Farm in recent years, you really need to make schedule an opportunity to do that. Perhaps even I could ask the county administrator maybe to arrange for an event up there, perhaps a committee meeting, the appropriate committee meeting. It's a wonderful facility, and they've done an awful lot of work up there. There's a tremendous amount of dedication and leadership, especially by Matt over the years. Just a little housekeeping. Under the report of the county administrator, Mr. Moore will be asking to introduce legislation regarding the mortgage tax. That will be brought to the floor, but then it will be voted upon under resolutions. The number on that will be 99. Under the attorney's report, Ms. Kassane has an amendment to Resolution 42 that she will be discussing with you. We will deal with that amendment during that report, and we will vote on that resolution under normal resolution voting. Chairman Loeb will have an amendment to Resolution 72 during his report. That resolution deals with out-of-state travel. And that concludes my report. Report by committee chairman. Supervisor Garrity.
Yep. First, I'd like to thank Mrs. Frazier for running the personnel meeting in higher education. I think that's probably only the less than 5 meetings I've missed since I've been here, but I had something going on that morning, so I couldn't make it. But I appreciate Mrs. Frazier. There's 10 resolutions, which is a lot for that committee, and some of them dealing with going to school and some of them are routine. Also, last month I attended the Intercounty Legislative meeting in Hamilton County with Frank Thomas and Matt Simpson. We had quite a ride up there. It was the day after the big rainstorm, and we traveled Route 8, and I thought we were going to disappear a couple times, but we did make it. And we got up there, they didn't have any heat, so...
or electric.
Nice. But I will say that the chairman of the board told us that it was sunny and 40 degrees up there and the roads were clear. I kind of gave it to him. I said, you'd never make it on Channel 13. But anyways, we attended that meeting. It was good. FirstNet people were there to talk about the fiber network that they're trying to put in New York State. And that's my report for this one.
And just for clarification, the chairman he referred to was the chairman of Hamilton County.
Yes.
Bill Farber.
Bill Farber. He said that he didn't put 40, and I said, I think we got
Supervisor Leggett.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Criminal Justice Public Safety Committee met on January 22nd. Before you are resolutions number 27 through 36, 10 total. 5 are from the Office of Emergency Service. 2 are for travel requests. 3 are for grant applications totaling $180,000. 2 are from probation. 1 a travel request, and 1 an agreement with Big Brother, Big Sister for mentoring, no cost. 2 are from Public Defender. 1 is a grant application request for $160,000, and another one is to extend a grant. And 1 is from assigned counsel for the approval of assigned counsel plan, which, beyond us, also requires the approval of the Warren County Bar Association and administrative judge at the OCA. This is something that's been in the works for 12 years, so it's before us, and you can, if you read through it, it's very comprehensive. That's all for criminal justice public safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Leggett. Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you. Environmental Concerns and Real Property met on January 22nd, and we do have Resolution 42 in your packet, so I will defer to County Attorney on the change there. We also got an update on some of the properties throughout the county that are of concern, and we will be talking about those again at the next meeting. And Adirondack Lakes Alliance came and gave us a presentation about what they are doing in the area, and also urged us to look at passing a county-wide septic transfer law, such as was done in Queensbury. So we will be taking a look at that at the next meeting as well, which is next Friday morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Loeb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Support Services Committee met last month, first time of 2019. I have several things. First, I'd like to discuss, bring up what you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, about Resolution 72. I'd like to offer an amendment for out-of-state travel to the National Association of Counties Conference in Washington, D.C. Currently under resolution, Supervisor Simpson is going. Supervisor Bramer has expressed interest in going, and I would like to offer an amendment to allow Supervisor Bramer to go to Washington.
Well, we have a motion to amend that resolution. Do we have a second? Supervisor Hogan, any discussion? On the amendment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That will be dealt with under resolutions for the full vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item regards activity at our meeting. At the meeting, Supervisor Beatty eloquently and passionately brought up the issue of poor care for our elderly in our nursing homes. And subsequent to that, I brought it up also at the Health Services Committee. And after a long discussion with Chairman Frazier and then a very in-depth discussion with our health Department Director, Janelle Jones, who, by the way, is doing a top-notch job. We made a good choice in moving her to that position. We decided that that issue is more appropriate, not in the Health Committee, but in the Support Services. Along that line, we will, at our next Support Services Committee, be discussing the topic of a hotline. Now, right at this point in time, Director Janelle Jones has been working rather quickly to put together some sort of administrative program to start addressing the issues that seniors, the elderly residents of our nursing homes are suffering in, and the complaints of the families are not being met. But that's an activity, and what we're talking about with the hotline is to, if we can't give the health department a nudge, we'll give them a shove. But it's going to bring visibility to all these complaints instead of brushing them under the rug. Another thing which is not going to be in support, but I just wanted to mention it, I talked with Director Jones about the anti-vaccine movement across the country. As we see, our Supervisor Diamond is absent today. He has the flu. But we see there's a measles epidemic across the country in New York State. It hasn't hit here, but the vaccination program in this country, in fact, the public health program in this country was, I think it cannot be debated, was the most effective step that's been taken in our society for public health in the whole history of our society. Prior to the 1900s, children in this country, in the world, died at a rate of 50% before they reached the age of 5. That's why you had to have a lot of families, because most of your kids were going to die. So the actions of public health are very important to the health of our community. We take the health of our community for granted. Vaccinations is part of those, is part of that program. I think public health has taken a shot on the chin lately because they're associated with government, but we need to do whatever we can to support their program. At the one of the meetings earlier this year, or maybe it was in December for the budget, we talked about what are we going to do with these extra millions of dollars in excess of what we need to cover our normal business month to month. This could be considered if we could come up with a grant program for the health department so they could increase their education programs within our county. It would serve our residents well. The last thing I want to do is actually isn't part of my committee, but it deals with the Red Cross. As you know, I'm not running for re-election. I'm going to spend more time at the Red Cross. One of the programs that the Red Cross has, it's a nationwide initiative. It's been going on for a couple of years, and it's gaining momentum. It's called Sound the Alarm. Kind of an odd term, but Sound the Alarm involves absolutely free, no strings attached installation of smoke alarms in your home. All you have to do is request it and need one. The Red Cross will install a free, permanent battery, 10-year life smoke alarm, or 2 or 3 or 4, however many you need, in your home. In this region, our region is, I think it's 6 or 7 counties. Of course, we're Warren County. I'm going out on Monday to install more smoke alarms. But if you could tell any of the people in your communities, this is a service, absolutely there's probably nothing you can have deal with in life where there's no strings attached. This is no strings attached. If you need a smoke alarm, redcross.org, and request smoke alarms in your house, and we'll come in and install them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No committee comments, but I would like to state that this past month the discussions and debate at the committees was excellent, and just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Frazier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Health, Human, and Social Services met on January the 25th. Also revolved around housekeeping items, and you'll notice that we have 22 resolutions, number 43 through 64. I'm not going to waste your time to read those off, but I will tell you that many deal with authorizing agreements, out-of-state travel, appointing members to boards, and amending resolutions. So we appreciate your support on that. Another item I have is we received word from Mary Ann McCarthy, Coordinator of Volunteers of Office of the Aging for home-delivered meals and medical transportation. They're in need of volunteers, especially this time of year. They have a lot of their volunteers who go south. So if anyone knows of anyone who might be interested, you could contact that office. But Amanda will be emailing us all a flyer like this so we can put it in our own community centers and see if we have people there that might be interested in helping out with that. So I just want to bring that to your attention. The last thing I'd like to say is I also attended NISAC. I'm on the Public Health and Mental Health Standing Committee, and we approved 4 resolutions that we're going to then move on to the governor. So, thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. DPW met January 25th, and we have 2 resolutions that came out of that meeting. Resolution number 70 is to set an agreement with Care Environmental Corp. For the household hazardous waste collection that we plan to do later this year. Number 71 is accepting the donation of land located in the town of Johnsburg from the Nature Conservancy. The other item I'd like to report on is out of the IDA. About a week ago or so, we had a special meeting to deal with an application that was before us that was in the process of being amended and looked at, and we did that. And also, the other reason why we had a special meeting was to address the culmination of a report that was done by the Authority Budget Office. It was probably an 8 or 10 month process. They guided us through this. We've worked closely with them, changing policies, correcting any of the issues that they had identified that we could deal with at that moment. So they issued a report. They had told us the report was coming. They were going to send it to a group of us, but instead they sent it to the full board. And they advised us that it was a confidential document, not to be shared with the public. So we said, well, how do we deal with this? We have a document that has been sent to the full board of the IDA, to every member. I didn't think it was appropriate for myself as a chairman to deal with this with a small group because we hear transparency issues being thrown at us all the time. So I called a special meeting to address it. I asked the ABO on guidance on how we are to address this confidentiality. They advised us to go into an executive session. I was actually guided by them on what the terms of the executive session were under, and we had a post-star reporter there that followed up with the Committee on Open Government after we went into executive session. She got in touch with me, told me that we violated the Open Meetings Law. I called the Committee on Open Government. She was correct. I called the reporter back. I said, give me a few minutes, give me some time to work this out because it is a confidential document from one state agency that is conflicting with another state agency, and I'm in the middle. I want to do the right thing. So I took that document and I called our attorney, and I told him that I'd like to give the Post-Star the entire draft document, that there was nothing in there that I could see that was endangering of the public or any reason to even withhold, but I was following the guidance of the ABO. So I released it. And within 24 hours, thereabouts, the Post-Star had that information. So there was no intention to have a secret meeting, as it was coined in the paper. But I can tell you one thing. The one thing that I did is I admitted that I led our group into an executive session. There was a mistake. I acknowledged it immediately. I corrected it, and we learned from it. And we're moving on. So I just wanted to clear that up, that it was the ABO that guided us, not our attorneys. And it was kind of a compromising situation, kind of a tough situation. You got the oversight committee that is there to judge our operation, telling us it's a confidential document and how to deal with it. And I think we did the best we could, and we learned a lesson, and we're going to move on. So I just want to let you know what was going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Extension Services did not meet since we last met, but that doesn't mean they haven't been busy. Currently, the volunteer income tax assistance volunteers are throughout Warren County 4 days a week doing free tax preparation for anyone who earns less than $45,000 a year. IRS-trained volunteers are downstairs today.
preparing tax returns for many of the county employees. The CCE is interviewing for the Farm to School Coordinator position, which will be funded by the wonderful grant that they got this year. And the staff completed their sexual harassment training as required by law. The CCE is hosting a program, Don't Get Picked, at SUNY Adirondack on February 22nd. And the next Extension Board meeting is February 25th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Dickinson.
The Occupancy Tax Committee met on January 25th. I was home sorting my socks. Supervisor Merlino stepped in for me. Thank you, Dean. There's 3 resolutions that came out of that. 67 and 68 are contracts with all the rooms. It's through Mike Swan's office. They're the ones that are helping us with our short-term rentals. The third one is a contract with the Adirondack Civic Center Coalition, 69. The Civic Center venue has changed from what it was when they first started. They're not doing nearly as many events, and they're doing a lot more of the hockey and other things. So they wanted to revise our contract to reflect that change, and that's what this is. We also had a very interesting discovery in Lake George recently, as you all well know. We had a contractor in the village of Lake George uncovered a cemetery plot over 200 years old. And it's fairly substantial. So far, they've determined there's at least 6 or 8 bodies interred there. They're thinking they're from the Revolution. They found, and I got this information from our trustee chairman, they found 2 buttons in there. One of them said, "Vote for Bob Blaze." But the other one was from the Revolutionary era, so they think that's what it is. We are doing everything we can to make sure the site's secure, that it's treated with respect, treated properly. These are veterans, United States veterans. We have offered to secure a burial site in the cemetery adjacent to the site where they were found. We've also made some moves to possibly buy out the project and make the project site a historic site in itself. So we're on it. We're concerned, and we're going to follow through with it. It's really exciting. And lastly, there was a letter to the editor a week or so ago, February 7th, to the Post-Star. And it was about an article they had written, and it was written by Mayor Blaze. And I know probably half of you already read it, but I want to read it into the record. Entire county should get credit for tourism is the title. And that's a strong theme, and that's one that Gene and I embrace wholeheartedly. So this letter is very poignant. It says, the day after an article was in the Post-Star about the increased occupancy of the hotel rooms in Warren County, I overheard a couple of Lake George businessmen boasting how their involvement contributed to our success these past few years. While there has never been a doubt in our beautiful, pristine lake is our major attraction, we must never forget that every town and city in Warren County deserves credit for our abundant tourism industry. While many of our competitors can boast of 1 or 2 amenities like beaches or history, culture or amusement, we have it all. We have the most accommodations in New York State outside the city of New York. We host special events that appeal to a wide variety of interests, from Elvis to balloons, music to muscle cars, and wine to garage sales. Warren County has shopping and sports, amusements, culture, unmatched recreational and historical opportunities. No matter your budget or your interest, there's enough to keep you busy, young and old, for days. Continued success is dependent upon all our businesses thinking regionally, not just about Lake George, but of the Whitewater and ranches of Luzerne, the antique shops of Warrensburg, the shops of Queensbury, the serenity and beauty of Bolton and Hague. There's skiing in North Creek, beautiful lakes in Chestertown and Horicon, and the museums, the Wood Theater, the arena in Glens Falls, all be offered to the visitors. We wake up every day and experience what visitors spend millions to enjoy. Many return annually because there is so much to do. So while our lake is the magnet and Lake George is the brand, Warren County is where it's all at. I'm going to have this actual letter from Mayor Frame and put it on my wall in the office. I feel that strongly about this. The mayor said it very well, and I appreciate his doing that. And I tell you this, he feels what he said. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Dickinson. Supervisor Merlino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tourism met on the 25th. We only have one resolution, and that's a resolution to the Adirondack Regional Chamber Tourism Council. We did this last year and the year before. It's in your packet. On your desk, I just want to be aware we have a new brochure through the tourism department. You all have a copy. It's been revamped. This is a pamphlet that will go to all the meeting conventions and bus tours and stuff that we attend. It's designed, as you see, a whole bunch of pieces inside promoting different things in our area, and as they go to each one, we'll put more different ones in there as the other ones pass. So it's a big change from, I will have to say, the old type we had here. So it's really been a well-done piece, and it's exciting to look at for our town. And I wasn't going to mention anything, but so Mr. Dickinson came about that article in the paper. It bothered me also. I got an email on it from somebody, I won't mention names, but I'm just going to give you a quick synopsis of OCTAX that's collected. All right, we all know that in 2018 the OCTAX was the highest it's ever been, 4 million plus. A particular hotel said they paid $135,000 to the county in 4% OCTAX, which is great. No problem with that. Well, my little figuring and my little calculations, if you paid $135,000, which they did, check with the attorney, the treasurer, they had to get into their business $3,375,000 they did in business to come up with 4% OCTAX, which I give them all credit for, and I hope all the businesses do that well. But in analyzing it for under $4 million, that $135,000 is only 3.4% of the $4 million that we collected. So while they're saying in the email that I got, the rest of us only put in $35,000 from the $135,000 they donated this past year. It's really only 3.4%. To just show you that one place is not the whole county, like I think the mayor is trying to say in his article. So it's a joint effort. It's the tourism department, the OCTAX department, working with the chamber and the CVB board. We're all working together for the same goal, to make this county well known all over this country and further. And I hope it just continues. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Merlino. Supervisor Strauss.
Yes, thank you. Legislative and Rules Committee met January 31st, 2019, and two resolutions are before you, Resolutions 65 and 66. 65 has been before you before. It's the municipal opioid cost recovery and public nuisance legislation. The wording has been improved by Supervisors Loeb and County Counsel Cassane. And so you're seeing the new improved version of this before you today, and this is to set a public hearing. And the public hearing is being set for March 15th, 2019, if you approve that today. And again, that's just to set a public hearing on that. And Resolution 66, Supervisor Bramer has her proposed law, local law promoting the use of reusable bags and banning single-use plastic bags in Warren County. She amended this in accord with what she had heard from some of the supervisors and from the public. So this is the new and improved local law promoting the use of reusable bags. And this is not to deal with the law today, but this is to set a public hearing April 19th, 2019, here at the Board of Supervisors meeting at 10 a.m. And the reason why it's being postponed to April is we want to see what happens with the state proposed or the governor's proposed legislation on the same matter. So this resolution before you today, just to make clear, is to set a public hearing for April 19th. Okay? And those are the only two items before us today that come out of the Legislative and Rules Committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just a couple of things that I'd like to bring up today. I also attended the New York State Association of Accounting meetings in Albany. I think that's a great event that really opened my eyes to a number of things that are going on with the state and the various counties. But the second one that I wanted to discuss is quite near and dear to my heart. Supervisor Driscoll and I attended an event at SUNY Adirondack. It was called their Investor Summit, and it's a jewel for our region. And I totally support our efforts to support them. One of the things that really struck me was Dr. Duffy and her team have a support structure for, my terminology, at-risk students. And they do a great job helping students that have personal issues, not necessarily cognitive issues, but other issues to help them be successful, get their degree, and actually contribute significantly to our culture and our society. So again, Dr. Duffy, I'm not sure if she's here. Thank you very much. And Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for today.
Thank you. Supervisor Beatty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. County Facilities met on the 22nd. There's two resolutions in front of you, Resolutions 25 and 26. They're fairly mundane, asking for an easement to the Leah Auto Group. There's 25 and 26 is asking that we declare a CEQA lead agency status for the construction of the two 10-bay T-hangars. Just an update on that, as if someone didn't attend that meeting, we do have a grant for, we thought was going to be for both of the T-bay, 10 T-bay hangars. Unfortunately, that number, around 90-something thousand, will only cover one of them now because of the cost of steel going up. So I know Don DeGraw, Kevin Hajos are on top of this. So we'll get one built, and then maybe there'll be other grant monies available or other options to get the second one built. So those are the two resolutions in front of you today. We also had a discussion on D&G recycling. No conclusion was made at that meeting. I foresee us having a further discussion in the next meeting in about a week. I'd just like to also make a couple of comments. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Loeb, Supervisor Loeb, for his strong efforts on trying to do what's best for our seniors, and that hotline idea is a phenomenal idea, Supervisor. Once we get that up and operating to fruition, I was thinking, man, that is a great idea. It's simplistic, but it's really going to give us, the people in this county and our seniors, an opportunity to be heard on the state level going to the Department of Health. So thank you, Supervisor Loeb, for that phenomenal idea. And thank you, Mr. Simpson, for explaining the transparency and the kind of misunderstanding on that going into executive session. I can see where you'd want to do that when some lawyers are telling you, and it's catch-22 on that. But I'm glad you clarified that for everyone. And finally, I concur with Supervisor Dickinson and Supervisor Molino. That was an excellent letter from Mayor Blaze. You couldn't have written it better if you
had a professional come in and write the letter. It was to the point. It was to the point that we are, as a county, tourism, not just one hotel, not just one event, not just one anything, but a collective body of people, events, and facilities that make this such a great tourism destination. So thank you on that. And just a FYI, I know we got challenges with, obviously, the water treatment funding of that, and at the next meeting, Dennis, I'm going to propose something that I hope will help. I don't know, but we need to fund that water treatment plant. We need, and it's not just Lake George, it's for all of us, because Lake George is the kingpin. So I'll be proposing that at our next meeting, a proposal to hopefully help fund the water treatment plant. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
You're welcome. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not chair a board, but I did attend all the committee meetings. I believe Mr. Driscoll is correct, and Supervisor Driscoll is correct in saying that we really, starting off 2019, we had some great committee discussions, and I thank you for bringing that. Also, Supervisor Dixon, I would like to thank you for reading it, and that was a very touching letter and very true. And both of you, I agree with what Supervisor Beatty said, and thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Sokol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance did meet on January 31st. We had quite a lengthy committee meeting, and before you are resolutions 23, 24, and 84 through 98. Most of them were housekeeping items. However, I want to touch on a couple of them, and Resolution 85 allows our county treasurer to join the New York Cooperative Liquid Asset Security System. What this is, it's a fund, or rather, it's a secured fund recommended by the New York State Comptroller's Office that allows us to use unappropriated surplus funds. It allows us to use funds that are in reserves. What we can do with this is invest it, and it returns at 2.25% as opposed to CDs where you're kind of locked in for 6 months or so. And the beauty with this type of an account is that it's secured, but you can also take monies out if deemed necessary. So at any point, if we need any monies for anything, the Treasurer's Office is allowed to take them out immediately. And just listening to what has been said today, this could be a nice deal for Warren County, given the fact some of the points that Supervisor Lowe brought up with programs with Red Cross. Maybe perhaps these monies that are returning 2.25% could be set aside into a separate account, where then we could use them for different programs, etc. But we'll leave that up to our treasurer to come up with. Hopefully, we'll have some good ideas. And Resolution 93 is an agreement with All the Rooms Incorporated. This provides internet search analysis. This allows the Treasurer's Office to audit, if you will, the rentals, the short-term rentals, to make sure that we are getting those monies that are done through Airbnb. And preliminary calculations put us at roughly $180,000 annually. So it's important that they have this access to this software system. So I would appreciate your yays on this. Also, if you did see the email that was sent out by the Treasurer's Office, we are 3.7% ahead of last year already in sales tax, which is quite incredible. Last year we were thrilled to be where we were at, and now we are 3.7 on top of that. So our treasurer is not here today. If anybody does have any questions, Rob is here to answer them, but otherwise that is my committee report.
Thank you, Supervisor Sokol. Supervisor Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no report, but I would ask the board that they look favorably upon Resolution 87. This is actually part of the 2019 budget, as I proposed, for the Sheriff's Department, appropriating surplus funds from the general fund.
Thank you. Supervisor Hyde.
No report.
Report of the county administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As always, it's my privilege to recognize 5 individuals who celebrated significant employment milestones this month. Our self-insurance administrator, Amy Clute, marked 30 years. At 25 years is Teresa Ryther of the county clerk's office. And from the sheriff's department, Sergeant Michael Webster and Officer John House are also at 25 years, and Glenda Benware at 20 years. Congratulations to everyone, and many thanks for your hard work and dedication. I did attend NISAC, unfortunately not for the workshops this year. I attended the county administrators and the county executives meetings. We reviewed primarily what's going on in the state budget and some of the bigger ticket policy items for this year. Continue to track all of that, and I'll keep you posted. On Thursday, February 7th, I met with the Health Insurance Working Group. Our consultant, Yeager and Flynn, provided good news. First of all, that we finished last year on budget, and things are looking good so far for this year. We also have some exciting new programs to roll out that will save our employees time and money, and we'll be bringing these to the Personnel Committee for discussion. Also on the same day, I met with SUNY Adirondack leadership team. President Duffy is here. Despite anticipated state aid reductions, I believe the anticipated impact right now on SUNY Adirondack is about $300,000, and we have a resolution today, number 83, speaking to that. But despite those reductions, they managed to come up with a budget that only increases the sponsor contributions from Warren and Washington County by 2%, which is what we expected. It's in our financial forecasting. So we commend them for doing a good job on that budget so far. As the chairman mentioned, we do need to revisit our local law to extend the mortgage recording tax. Let me explain why. As you recall, based on our conversations with state officials and with NISAC, we've long been planning on a March 1st effective date. And on the advice of state officials, we set an effective date of February 1st or any date thereafter that is authorized under state law. We did this just in case the state enacted the enabling legislation quickly and dispensed with a regulatory waiting period. This was still in the cards in January when this board set the public hearing and the adoption date for the local law. And I want the record to show that we contacted the State Department of Taxation and Finance to review this language in our local law, but they didn't return our calls. And it's my understanding that Essex County had similar experiences with that department. The state legislature passed the enabling legislation on January 29th, but didn't send it to the governor until February 4th. And as of this morning, the governor has still not signed the bill. He has until 11:59 p.m. tonight to do so. If this bill's not signed, we will have to start the entire home rule process over again. I contacted the governor's office to explain this and also to state that this board needs to act at this morning's meeting in order to get April 1st. And it would help us to know whether or not this bill is signed. Otherwise, we're wasting time and money in amending this one more time and noticing another public hearing. They said they would try to have the bill signed in time for this meeting, but that obviously hasn't happened. So here's what all of this means. Because the bill has not yet been signed, the Tax and Finance Department is telling us that the earliest effective date we can have is April 1st, not March 1st as we were hoping. This constitutes a material change in our local law. The county attorneys reviewed it. It will require another public hearing. Because of publication deadlines for our official newspapers, the earliest we can notice this public hearing is next Saturday, the 23rd. And then there's a mandatory 5-day waiting period after that. So we're looking at having to have a special board meeting on the 28th in order to hold a public hearing on the amended local law and to adopt the amended local law. And that will have the April 1st deadline as the state is requiring. So what we need to do this morning is amend that local law and set the public hearing and knock on wood that the bill gets signed before the end of the day. I have no reason to believe it won't. But if it doesn't, April 1st won't be a possibility for us, and we'll have to amend this local law one more time for some later date, and we're going to be under the revenue budget for this year. We budgeted for revenue starting April 1st.
Let's take care of that one.
Yeah, so there is a floor resolution on your desk that accomplishes these objectives, and we'll need approval today.
Right. Chair will entertain a motion to bring this to the floor. Mr. Simpson, Mr. Wild on the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That will be resolution number 99. Resolution number 99. And that will be voted on under resolutions. Ms. Bramer.
Since we're on the topic right now, can I ask a question, or do you want me to wait?
No, go right ahead.
Okay. Our prior version said any time after February 1st it was going to be effective?
It said February 1st or any subsequent date as authorized by state law.
And why is that not sufficient to
I read
be
that
effective?
to the council's office at Tax and Finance, and they said no, you have to specifically state April 1st.
Because the state legislative
The bill
said April 1st?
No, the enabling legislation has no start date. It's
just whenever the governor
it's essentially a reprint of last year's bill that didn't ultimately become enacted. And our legislators advocated for different wording, but the Assembly majority wanted to go with the same bill. So that's what got done. Taxation and Finance says we absolutely must have April 1st as our effective date. It's frustrating.
That is very frustrating and disappointing.
I found this out 2 days ago.
Yeah.
The rest of my report is positive news. And I'm sorry for the lengthy report today. Today's Resolution 98 authorizes the chairman to write a letter to the Department of Health on behalf of the Board of Supervisors expressing our concerns with quality of care at nursing homes in Warren County. I do want to emphasize that the county is looking to play a constructive role here by letting the state regulators know that we care about our seniors and we're ready to go to bat for them. And in that spirit, I asked my deputy, Tammy DiLorenzo, to begin developing a program to enhance the county's impact in this area. She's been working with Public Health Director Janelle Jones and Office for the Aging Director Dee Park, and I think they're making excellent progress so far. Now, as a first step, they reached out to all 4 of the nursing homes in this county to schedule meetings with the respective nursing home administrators. Warren Center was the first to call back, and that meeting took place this past Monday. Warren Center's administrator, he's new to the area. He reviewed the complaint procedure that Warren Center is using, as well as updates on quality improvements that he's trying to make at the facility. And our directors provided him with a lot of information on local resources that are available to Warren Center, whether it be through the health department or the Office for the Aging or local groups like Catholic Charities. We have similar meetings set up next week with the Pines and Glens Falls Center, and the team is still settling on a date to meet with Elderwood. The team also reached out to State DOH and discussed their complaint hotline, and also Catholic Charities to discuss their Ombudsman program, which is another resource that nursing home residents and their families can use to voice concerns about quality of care in local facilities. Our ultimate goal is to tie all of these resources together, improve the communications between these agencies, and we want to develop an active coalition for the elderly that the county will lead. This coalition will have representatives from all the groups that impact seniors in the county, as well as affected seniors themselves and their families. We'll have representatives from actual clients and their families on this coalition. The goal of the coalition will be to keep everybody on the same page, to constantly improve practices, to foster collaboration, to identify and improve problem areas, and to promote a more seamless transition for our elderly residents through different care modalities. So thank you to Tammy, Janelle, and Dee for launching this effort. I think it'll produce great dividends. Next, several supervisors asked me to share a letter with you regarding an experience that a county resident had recently with our Veterans Services Office. The letter is dated February 4th. It's to Chairman Conover and Supervisor Frazier, and I'll read the letter now. I am an Army veteran serving from 1959 to 1962. I have never made use of my veterans benefits until last September. At that time, I went to the Warren County Veterans Office just to get a copy of my DD-214.
I talked with the receptionist concerning my hearing problems. She made an appointment for me to see Denise DeResta. I met with Ms. DeResta and was immediately impressed with her knowledge and professionalism. She advised me of my rights and my benefits with the Veterans Association and what I was required to do in order to obtain hearing aids. Over the course of 6 months, I fulfilled these requirements, and on February 13, 2019, I will be issued hearing aids. I am considered to have a 70% hearing loss and am receiving a monetary monthly benefit also. Ms. DeResta's knowledge, professionalism, caring, and understanding of my problem made a very positive impression on me. She was always available when I called to answer any question I had. She helped me through a very difficult time to a positive result. Warren County can consider itself very grateful to have a person like Ms. DeResta on their team. She and her staff are truly a credit to Warren County veterans. And I'd like to echo that, signed Stanley Wood, and I'd like to echo Mr. Wood's comments and thank Denise for her exemplary services. And last but not least, February is the first full month of our new employee recognition program, and it's my pleasure to introduce our very first employee of the month. Please welcome Supervising Public Health Nurse Jody Brines. Jody, could you stand, please? Now, the purpose of this award is to recognize employees for such things as going above and beyond in their duties, superb interaction with the public, positive contributions to staff morale, and introducing efficiency and cost-saving measures. Jody's a perfect honoree because she's done all of the above in the Health Services Department. Jody spent 20 years in health-related fields, and she became a nurse in 2015. She was promoted to her current position in May 2018, and according to Public Health Director Janelle Jones, who nominated her, she has exceeded expectations. She demonstrates initiative and steps in wherever she's needed. Her supervisors frequently receive compliments from clients regarding the care that she patiently and thoroughly provides. As a supervisor, she provides rides to and from work to those who have transportation issues on the staff. She implemented a staff recognition program to boost morale. She put together a staff nurse satisfaction survey to gather ideas on how to help the department's nurses accomplish their objectives. And she helped the staff through a very stressful transition last summer to a new electronic health record system. Because of her work, implementation concerns were addressed and solved proactively, and which helped tremendously in the successful conversion of these records, which contributes to the efficiency of the office. On a personal level, Janelle reports that Jody is genuine, sincere, professional, and patient, and that her energy and positive attitude are contagious with the rest of the staff. And if all of this isn't enough, she donated a kidney last year to a family friend. So if Jody would be kind enough in a moment to come up to the front, the chairman and I would like to present her with a certificate of appreciation from this board. And we also have a very nice piece of pottery with a rendering of Lake George. It was anonymously donated to the Employee of the Month program, and we will have these for future honorees. So ladies and gentlemen, our Employee of the Month, Jody Brines.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Report of the county attorney.
Good morning. I really hate doing my report after Ryan's report, but my boring report only has to do with resolution number 42, which is a resolution to authorize the county treasurer to approve New York State real property tax law corrections. Pursuant to Real Property Tax Law Section 554, this responsibility can only be assigned to the treasurer in the absence of a county auditor. However, Warren County does have an auditor, so she must be delegated that authority. Therefore, Resolution number 42 will need to be amended to say that the Warren County auditor has authority to approve New York State real property tax law corrections, and in her absence, the county treasurer will have such authority.
I think we'll handle the amendment right now. Do we have a motion on the amendment? Supervisor Loeb, Supervisor Bramer on the second. Any questions or discussion? There being none, are we ready to act on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. We will deal with this resolution when we get to resolutions. Thank you. Anything else?
That concludes my report.
Report. Reading of communications.
We have received the Warren County Probation Department's report of criminal and family workloads for December 2018, minutes from the Warren, Washington County CDC and IDA December 17, 2018 meetings, and the CDC's January 16, 2019 Executive Committee meeting. We received the the letter from Stanley Wood, which Mr. Moore read aloud. And we also have December payment in the amount of $3,170 from the Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corp.
Reading of resolutions.
Proposed resolution numbers 23 through 98 were either mailed or picked up by members of the Board of Supervisors, and they were posted to the county website. Resolution numbers 42 and 72 have been amended earlier in the meeting, and Resolution 99 was brought to the floor as well.
Discussion and public comment on proposed resolutions. I'll open it up to the floor. Anyone here wishing to comment at this time on any resolutions presently before the Board of Supervisors? There being no one, I'll open it up to the supervisors. Supervisor Lowe.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 4 that I would like to discuss. First one is 26. I would like that to be a roll call. I appreciate what Supervisor Beatty said. My recollection of our meeting was that because of the increase of price of steel, we cannot build 20 steel hangars, or we can only afford to do 10. Therefore, we opted to build 20 fabric hangars. Seems like a good idea, but and I probably voted in committee to approve that, but after reflecting on it, I feel that we have a jewel of an airport, and if we start putting in second-grade hangars, it's just going to cheapen our facility. And I would rather, since we need the hangars, and we're replacing 12 current hangars, I would rather spend the extra money on 10 top-quality hangars than 20 mediocre hangars. And I guess I would ask, although it may not be appropriate, but this is for the seeker issue, and if it is appropriate, I would ask that if tabling this would be appropriate. And if it is appropriate, then I would offer a motion to table. But if it's not appropriate, then I would just make a note that I'm going to vote no as a protest, so that because I want to have quality at that airport, not second best. Would it be appropriate, or is it not?
Any supervisor can make a motion to table at any time. I see some hands going up. A motion to table will take precedent, Mr. Loeb, and it will terminate discussion. If you could pause on the table, we might want to hear.
I will pause. Yes, thank you.
Supervisor Bates.
Yeah. With all due respect, Mr. Loeb, I'd like to get your clarification, if I could.
Sure.
Because I think we're a little confused. Mr. Hayjos, would you come up and just supply the clarification? Thank you.
As was stated earlier when they talked about the resolution, the steel prices and the tariff on steel has significantly increased. So the original the grant for 20 hangars was approximately $990,000. that will not cover the cost of 20 anymore. It'll only cover probably about 10. We had made a proposal during committee to look at fabric hangers. There was no decision made in committee that we were going to go that route, just that we would look at it and see if they were worth something to be put out there. Don and I are actually coming back to committee on next Thursday to actually discuss that we do not want to go that route. It's not cost effective for us to go that route, and in 30 years when we'd have to replace them, it'd be a county cost as opposed to grant funding costs. So that'll be brought up in committee next week. This seeker, though, was just, it was for the 20. It's for a general area where these will be constructed. I'm not sure that it needs to be tabled. We still need to have the seeker in place to be able to do the work for the 10.
I am heartened so that my issue is like not on the table anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Supervisor Beatty. Any further discussion on Resolution 26? If not, I'll close discussion on 26. Supervisor Loeb, you have other...
Yes, Mr. Chairman, 3 more. The next one is on Resolution 59 regarding allowing out-of-state travel and mileage. And from the look of the resolution, it did not include having that person coming to the appropriate committee for approval for their out-of-state travel or any travel, as everyone else in the county has. It's required. In fact, in our resolution packet today, we have several people who are requesting approval for travel. So, you know, I don't know why that isn't included in here, and I would like to have the fact that they need to come to our committees to have all their travel approved.
Why don't we allow Mr. Moore to respond, if that's all right?
Sure. I did some research into this last week. This is under the Wellness and Nutrition Program. It's a 100% state-funded program, and the travel in this would be state mandated. When the state tells us that this employee, she's not an employee, she's a contractor, when this because we save money having a contractor rather than employee, when this contractor is required to attend training in order to fulfill her duties, that's something that the state tells us needs to be done. The reason, I suppose, why the requirement to go through the typical travel process is not included in this is because this person is not an employee. But this is all state mandated and state funded.
Okay, I guess that resolved my issue with it.
Mr. Loeb,
yes.
Before we go further, your request for a roll call, are you withdrawing that request for the roll call?
Oh, you're on 26? Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Now, you had 2 other items.
I do. The next one is Resolution 70, which regards the awarding of a bid and authorizing agreement with Care Environmental Corporation for household hazardous waste. As we discussed in the committee, it was evident that I was concerned about the way we were running, and this is kind of a crude way to put it, but the way the county was running their operation. People at the current transfer stations are not trained in hazardous waste now. We're trying to show the community that we care about our environment. Supervisor Bramer has worked extensively on her plastic bag proposal because she cares about the environment. I think we're giving a false message to our community. We're only doing this once a year. Meanwhile, at any point, people say, if I'm cleaning out my garage today, I'm not going to wait until June. It's going into my garbage bag, and it's going to go down to the burn plant, and all those chemicals are going to go up the smokestack. I was told at the committee meeting that the transfer station people aren't trained. I brought some fluorescent tubes to be disposed of. I wasn't sure where to dispose of them. This was just about a month ago. Wasn't sure on any future collection dates, so I asked the people at the transfer station, what do we do with these? Oh, just throw them in the dumpster. And I was informed at our committee meeting that we don't train our transfer station people. So if we're not training our transfer station people, how are the normal residents of the county supposed to know what to do? And so they may as well say, well, and they probably do, I'm just going to throw it in my garbage bag and bury it. No one will see it. And then I was further informed at the committee that there are times when a resident will bring something, and the people who, not necessarily this Care Environmental Corporation, but the people who are running these collections, don't know what the product is, so they turn it away. And then the resident goes home and says, well, I don't know what it is either. Put it in the garbage bag and let it go into the burn plant, up the smokestack. This isn't good for our environment. If we're serious about taking care of our environment, we have to be serious about it and take consistent, regular action, which would mean probably having on a monthly basis, if not weekly basis, collection of these hazardous wastes so we can protect our environment. I'm going to vote no. I would request a roll call vote on this, and I would request that the appropriate departments in our county start thinking along the lines of how we can address this issue in our environment, because it is an issue. And I buy insecticides. What do I do with those? If I'm not going to use them, what am I going to do with them? Do I throw it in my bag, or do I wait until some unknown date where there's going to be a collection? Maybe I'm not going to be available that day to bring it in. How long is it going to stay? Now I'm going to sell my house. I've got all this stuff in my garage. Now what do we do with it? Throw it in a bag. I'm not necessarily speaking about me, but we've got how many thousands of people that live in this county. And it's time, as county leaders, that we step up and start doing something about it.
Further discussion on Resolution 70. Supervisor Simpson.
I just wanted to take a moment and say, I agree with Supervisor Loeb that, this is something we need to look at, and maybe we should, decide whether we want to talk about this at committee with, everybody there and figure out, because, we actually could decide to have this company come on a monthly basis if that's what we choose to do. There is I think there's a DEC grant that pays for half of it. I'm correct. So, I think there's some logistics we'd have to work out and make sure that it's profitable. Otherwise, we're going to be paying the full cost if it doesn't meet the guidelines of the DEC. So, I would just encourage that we further the conversation and figure out a solution that works.
So if I'm hearing you, you're suggesting that we can move forward with the existing resolution, but that doesn't preclude us from expanding it should we choose to do so tomorrow.
Exactly. I would encourage everybody to support this, to not lose this opportunity, to get as much of these hazardous things off of out of our environment. But we need to continue this conversation and figure out a better, for lack of a better word, a better mousetrap.
Supervisor Dickinson.
We're not the only solution to this problem. We've offered a service to the general public. We're not the only solution. If you have materials you don't want to get rid of, you go online, you can find any number of people to take care of them. You're going to pay for it. But there are all kinds of resources for getting rid of these materials, other than Warrentown.
Supervisor Bramer.
Thanks. This is an issue that I attended a seminar at NISAC recently on recycling. I actually moderated the panel, and it came to my attention that we are one of the only counties that does not have any staff who is coordinating our waste management. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but it seems like we have hodgepodged together different areas, like our superintendent, our purchasing agent, sometimes real property director helps out with these things. So we really need to take a look at it, and I would like to do that in the Environmental Concerns Committee and make sure that we move forward with our waste management plan, which I understand has been sitting at the state, not having been approved for ages. Just as bad as the assigned council plan. So we need to get a plan approved, and we need to start taking a more holistic look and actually assign some staff to take care of this.
Further discussion on Resolution 70. Then I'll close discussion on Resolution 70. Bill, did you have one more?
Yes, just one more, and this is on a positive note. Supervisor Kenny worked real hard to get an occupancy tax, and now occupancy tax is bringing in a lot of money. I mentioned the issue about the hazardous waste, and Supervisor Simpson says, we can move forward with this. And the reason I'm bringing this up is Resolution 91, which talks about us approving $800,000 for funding for invasive species, and it wasn't 6 or 7 years ago that we had to argue for $1. So I applaud this Board of Supervisors. I applaud our county government that sometimes it takes a while to get issues to move forward, but we talk about it, we deliberate, and we move forward. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
And I remember that meeting very well, Supervisor Loeb, and I remember your challenge at the time to those present. Was very helpful. Discussion on other resolutions. Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for a roll call on 65, please.
A roll call on 65.
Yes.
Any other roll call votes? Supervisor Beatty.
Roll call on 98, please.
Roll call on 98. Supervisor Simpson.
Roll call number 70, number 72, please.
Roll call on 72. Any other roll call votes? Requests? Discussion on other resolutions. Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I have 3 that I'd like to discuss, and the third might be the third rail. But I have a question on Resolution 85. It's the night class. I know that our treasurer isn't here today, but my question, and maybe Rob can help answer this, is whether or not we have any principal protection. So the investment that's being made in night class, if there's a downturn in the economy, is any principal at risk?
Without objection, Rob, could you come to the podium? Did you hear the question?
Yeah, there's no risk for any principal at all. It's fully collateralized, and we can take out money whenever we want. We can withdraw it from the fund. So if the interest rates go down and we have a better investment like in CDs, we can just take the money out and put it in CDs.
So, Rob, do you know how much, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman?
No, continue.
What level of investment are we thinking of making here? Do you know?
We're still analyzing that.
Range?
It could be between 10 and 14 million.
And that's totally protected?
Oh, yeah. Yep, and we have Washington County's using it, and the town of Queensbury is using it, and Mike Swan talked to both of them, and they seem very happy with it. And it's actually, it is recommended by the State Controller's Office.
That's all I had on that one. Thank you, Rob. Resolution 74. This is amending a table of organization. I don't want to speak about specifics, but I would like to talk in generalities about the situation with our organization and our baby boomers that are becoming close to retirement age. And I would like to suggest that we take an active look at our leadership teams and make sure that we have succession plans so that as people get close to retirement, we do whatever we can to make sure that we have a next in line defined and do everything we can also to ensure that we do enough knowledge transfer that when that person does take over, they can hit the ground running. And of course we'll lose information and knowledge, but we want to do the best we can to kind of plan for that. So I think I have some assurances that we'll be able to do that, but it's something that I did want to bring up to the full board that we need to consider as we go forward.
We thank you for your leadership on that issue, and I think that our county administrator agrees with you completely, and we will be taking steps to do further evaluation and be working with those departments to ensure that there are succession transition plans brought to committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you don't mind, one more, the third rail, hopefully not, but occupancy tax, it has my attention. I do support the resolution number 69. That is $250,000 to the Civic Center. I believe that the Civic Center is a great asset, not only for Glens Falls, but the county as a whole. My question and concern is related to how long does this stipend of $250,000 a year continue? And do we have some type of plan to say that we can reduce this down over the years, so now we can make some investments with that money for other facilities or to do different things. And to my concern, right now it's not in the resolution. I'm sure Supervisor Dickinson might have something to say along those lines, but it is a big concern to me. I think it should be a concern of the board as a whole. And thank you.
You're welcome. Supervisor Dickinson.
That's not a good question. That's a terrible question. We have negotiated with the coalition. We started at, I think, 3-year commitment. The last couple of years we've gone year to year. Our original marching orders to them were to get the Civic Center as a business established, what they want to do, how they want to do, how much it was going to cost them, and at some point in time come back and give us a figure of sustainability. And our hope was at that time it was something considerably less than $250,000. So far that hasn't worked. It is a problem. It is something we all need to think about. They are doing a yeoman's job running the Civic Center. They've turned it around. Their profit margin is done a total about face. They've made a lot of improvements to the building. The problem is they have a long way to go. They have no capital fund, and they're sitting under a 20-plus-year-old flat roof. At some point in time, that could come around to kick us in the teeth. So the issue, and I'm going to put it out to all of you, is exactly what you asked. We pay them $250,000. They're an absolutely tremendous asset to the area. There's no question about it. As Gina said, they put feet in the street, not heads in the bed, and they do. If you go down on a game night, if you want to eat someplace, you better get in line. It's a tremendous asset. It's also a tremendous asset, and it's very entertaining, not only for Warren County, but the surrounding area. If you're within an hour of the arena and you like hockey, that's the place to go. They've improved all of the seating, the whole venue, the lighting. They've got some really great vendors there, food vendors and drink vendors. So they've done a lot, and I hesitate to stop funding them. But we really should think about where we're going and how long we want to do this and what the final bottom line is to it. That's not a decision I'm going to be able to make by myself.
Supervisor Garrett.
Yeah, I mean, I fully support what we're doing with the Civic Center, only because if you look at the burden we've taken off the taxpayers of the city of Glens Falls, some of the burden was placed right on the taxpayers of Glens Falls. I think it's helped the city budget by us contributing into this coalition group to try to get it back on track. I mean, to me, OxyTax is all about events. It should go to the places that host events. I believe the Civic Center hosts a lot of the events, so I support it. I agree that we need, it's not an endless pit. But, you also got to consider the city. We've helped the city of Glens Falls. I hope we helped the city of Glens Falls out by being able to make this a little bit more regional by the OxyTax money collected. Numerous years, the people have tried to reach out to get the continuous counties to help out with the Civic Center. Nobody wanted to. They came forward, this group put forward a plan to upgrade the Civic Center. I think they're on their way. They have a lot more work to do. Dennis talked about the roof. We know about that. But I fully support continuing to fund the Civic Center because I do believe it's helped the taxpayers of the city of Glens Falls plus everybody in Warren County. I got to show my support for this. I think it was a good idea. I know we had a lot of discussion about it, but it probably can't go on forever, but I think if I'm living in the city and I don't have to pay a big deficit on the Civic Center, the $250,000 coming from support of people who come in here and stay, I think that's great.
Supervisor Straw.
Yes, thank you. If the Civic Center has done an economic analysis of the impact of the Civic Center on the region, Warren County being included in that region, and it truly is a success story. I'd hate to see our area without that asset. And so if you look at other counties who physically own, operate, and manage their own civic centers, they're contributing much more than $250,000. So if you take a look at cost-benefit analysis of the Civic Center, I think you'd find what we contribute to that, which is Quincy tax monies. It would be, it's a success story. Thank you.
Supervisor Bramer?
Thanks. Just to echo what Supervisor Strauss said, I'm glad to hear many people saying that it is such an important asset. That study showed that it was a $13 million benefit to the area, and so that's quite a bit of a return on $250,000. But I also wanted to say something, because at the beginning about this particular resolution changing the contract, it was something about, well, they don't host events anymore. But that's not exactly what's happening. They're still hosting events. They have not just the hockey team, but they're also got the state basketball tournament back. They're doing a gun show coming up soon. They have concerts. They have all kinds of events. And they are doing a really exciting event in August, the Aurora Games, which are going to be based out of Albany. And it's teams, women's hockey teams athletes coming from all over the world. It's really an exciting event. And we are going to be able to host the women's team during 1 week leading up to the final game in Albany. But as far as their profit margins, they have significantly turned around, but they're not actually making any money yet. They're barely scraping by, so they're going to continue needing our support. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Supervisor Merlino.
Yeah, and let me just chime in. We are working with the CVB board right now and with Glensboro Civic Center to try to analyze what they did in 2018, with the numbers they're giving us now with our new technical machine we have with the CVB chamber. But we hope to have some answers in a few months on the ROI. And but I fully support. I'm glad we went to year by year because we can keep up on it. And if they don't keep showing improvements, then we'd have to decide what we need to do. But right now, they're doing well, and they gave a great report at the last occupancy tax meeting, and we're trying to get that more on paper so we can distribute it to people that can see.
Right. And just as I was the one that helped to put that plan together at that time, the only reason there was initially a 3-year commitment was because we were unsure as to what the revenue stream was going to be on OCTAX, and we were coming out of our fund balance to be able to incorporate that level of expenditure at that time. But let me also say that I think that as we roll out the county's unified infrastructure program that we discussed and announced in January, I think that this and a whole host of other projects at all levels and at all levels of maturity will be there for us to take a look at and to evaluate and to think about strategically how we do these projects, county or municipal, going forward, what funding sources are best to apply. I'm very excited about the concept that this county administrator is working on to roll that program out. This is going to take a little bit of time. In the interim, there are projects that we are doing, and there may be projects that are proposed that simply can't wait for the more comprehensive program that I think Supervisor Wild that you're alluding to in terms of where we're going and with our resource allocation and whatever. So we may have to, on the short term, have to deal with some projects on an individualized basis, but they all fit within the bigger scheme of infrastructure. They all fit within the bigger scheme or bigger question of where are we going, how much a resource is going to be required on a countywide basis to do these important projects. And there are many examples of individual projects that we have done. Eastfield, over the years, Eastfield is an example, the Civic Center, a utility expansion in Warrensburg, and others. And but on the short term, it may be necessary, when I say short term, I mean 30, 60, 90 days, something like that, to have to entertain individual projects. We all know that the Village of Lake George is having issues with their sewage treatment plants. So Mr. Beatty's indicating he has some ideas on that. I know Mrs. Dickinson and others have their ideas as well. So we're going to try to pull all this together for you in a comprehensive way, and to think about not only individual commitments to projects, but long-term commitments to projects, because some of these projects do require long-term sustained support. So, Mr. Merlino.
Just to add on to that, and I'm hoping that we've been working on plastic bags for 2 years. I'd like to see some time put into the redistribution of sales tax revenue. I haven't heard of a meeting coming up or anything, but I hope we're not going to forget that and keep it on the agenda.
No, there are meetings being attended. I think some of the supervisors want some of the residents to get back into the area, but there'll be meetings set up over the next few months to do just that. Let me see, Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one more comment on the cool insuring arena. I regularly have conversations with members of the coalition, and I guess I'm privy to some information about upcoming events during 2019. I can say that other than hockey, there will be an increase in the special events. I'm sworn to secrecy. I can't tell you about those events, but they have been here in the past and they've done very well. On February 23rd, which is a Saturday night, the group sales department with the Adirondack Thunder hockey team is hosting the law enforcement night. Proceeds from that night go towards Special Olympics. It's also Warren County night, and I think all of the supervisors have received information about reduced price tickets, group sales tickets. That invitation also applies to employees of individual towns. So whether they work on this campus or they work up in Chestertown or Warrensburg, those people can still purchase using the website, I think, that says Warren County. To get to know the Cool Insuring Arena, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to go down at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. Come to an event, and they're going to sell out the arena on Saturday, February 23rd. Whether you're a hockey person or not, it's a great family entertainment. You'll certainly run into a lot of people, and you'll kind of get an idea of the essence of what's happening at the arena. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Supervisor Beatty.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of comments. Obviously, I think it's the consensus of this board that the Civic Center is a valuable asset to the county. I mean, we can all go around the room and say that, but I think just about everybody concurs with that. And they have done an amazing turnaround. They're not profitable yet. I believe they break even, but that's with the $250,000 that the county, through the occupancy tax, helps them with. But like Mr. Dickinson said, you go down there on a hockey night, try to get a meal, you better get down there pretty early because you can't find a seat. And that's sales tax revenue coming to the city of Glens Falls, also to the county. So I am a big supporter of the Civic Center. If it ever went dark, heaven forbid, because of our lack of support, I would be, this county would suffer. That's number one. Number two is, I'd like to have, if we could, the sales distribution formulation discussion put on a Legislative and Rules Committee agenda. Could we get that, Mr. Chairman? Or
Any supervisor can bring up at Legislative and Rules any subject at any time.
Could we?
I don't know that we need to.
Could we get Mr. Stroud to put that on the agenda?
You wish it to put on the agenda?
I'd love to see that on the agenda. Yes, Mr. Stroud. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Merlino. Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you again for 69 for the last time. I want to make sure that the board members and the public understand I am in support of this $250,000 for the Civic Center. My question is in relation to the coalition. They are successful business leaders in our community. They understand long-range planning. All I want is a plan to tell us when we might be done.
They will get you
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you. Supervisor Simpson.
Mr. Chairman, I just, I have a real concern that we're going to move anything forward, get too far into the sales tax issue when two-thirds of the population of the town of Horicon is not there. So while I just want to make that known, that we're discussing something that will affect a large number of taxpayers in this community, and they need to be part of the discussion. Thank you.
I
agree with
concur
that.
completely. I mean, the process that's in motion, I think, is a good process. But again, I can't keep any supervisor from bringing forward any idea at any committee at any time, nor would I suggest that otherwise. So I've made my position very clear on the issue as to where I stand on the issue. And, you know, those that have ideas, you know, participate in the process or advance them on your own. That's your pleasure. Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you. I was just going to reiterate, as Supervisor Merlino said, it took 2 years to work on the plastic bag legislation. I don't think that we're going to be able to analyze and come up with a solution and quick pass it before the summer residents get back. So let's just start the discussion in committee so we can have some resources dedicated to looking at the problem.
I think the county administrator has stated to everyone that anyone that has any ideas, that he'd be happy to analyze those ideas. But again, you're free to approach things as you see fit. Supervisor Simpson.
Mr. Chairman, I've sat here a long time through a lot of discussions on the airport. We did night meetings. We've adjusted our schedule to address transparency issues, and I'm just thrown aside by some of the that we need to move forward, and we haven't even heard from two-thirds of the population in a town that contributes a large number of dollars to the health of this county. I'm just saying we need to stay together. We need to think of the entire county. So,
I understand it. Other discussion on other resolutions. Supervisor Wild.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question on our schedule. Last year we had an evening meeting. Are we planning another evening board meeting for this year? It is in June?
In June.
Thank you.
June.
Sorry for me not being aware.
No. I had to double check myself. Discussion on other resolutions. Very good. Vote on resolutions.
Resolution number 23, making supplemental appropriations. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Strauss?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution number 24, amending Warren County budget for 2019. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Strauss?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution number 65, introducing proposed local law number 3 of 2019. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
No.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Strauss?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Just a moment. Supervisor Loeb.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Actually, I wanted to make a comment on this. That there's been a lot of work on putting all this legislation together, and I think in the end it's very well worded. But my comment was, I had hernia surgery 2 weeks ago. Everything's fine. But in the process, they prescribed to me 30 Percocet. Apparently, the surgeon normally prescribes 42. Tylenol was sufficient, so now I have 30 Percocet for sale. Exactly. So this falls under the area of consideration of, was it necessary? Were 42s definitely not necessary? 30, for me, they weren't necessary, but is this unnecessary prescribing just for convenience of the opioids? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Resolution number 70, awarding bid and authorizing agreement with Care Environmental Corp. For household hazardous waste collection. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
I am voting no in solidarity and protest with my supervisor colleague over here.
Mr. Loeb?
I guess I appreciate Supervisor Simpson's vote. Since Supervisor Bramer voted no, I better vote no also.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution number 72, authorizing out-of-state travel for Supervisor Simpson and Bramer to attend the National Association of Counties Legislative Conference. Mr. Garrity?
I represent my constituents, and I'll vote yes on it.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Now you'll have a bipartisan ticket down there, and thank you very much. I'm recusing myself. Thank you.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Recusing.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Tough decision, but I'll have to say yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 74, amending table of organization and Warren County salary and compensation plan. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 87, authorizing appropriation from general fund unappropriated surplus to the sheriff's law enforcement budget to cover the cost of the PBA settlement. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 88, authorizing appropriation of funds from the general fund unappropriated surplus to the sheriff's budget for the purchase of vehicles. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 89, authorizing appropriation of funds from the general fund unappropriated surplus to the sheriff's budget. This is for law enforcement supplies. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 90, authorizing appropriation of funds from the general fund unappropriated surplus to the sheriff's budget. This is for the Corrections Division. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 91, establishing capital project H382, Lake George invasive species eradication. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde? Yes. Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution number 93, authorizing appropriation of funds from the occupancy tax reserve to the tourism budget. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 94, authorizing county treasurer to transfer funds from the computer reserve to departmental budgets. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution number 95, authorizing appropriation of funds from the Westmount Legacy Reserve Fund. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 96, authorizing appropriation of funds from the vehicle reserve. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution number 98, authorizing chairman of the board to send a letter to the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Health stating concerns with the quality of care at Warren Center. Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
With honors, yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes. Collective on the rest, motion? Mr. Dickinson, Mr. Stroud on the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Privilege of the floor. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the Board of Supervisors at this time? Mr. Whitehead?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Loeb brought up some excellent things to discuss, and I'd like to mention that on the mercury tube, on the fluorescent tubes, which contains mercury, it is you really don't want mercury to go anywhere near a fire. It easily gets vaporized. That'll end up in the air in all kinds of places that we don't want. It's very good, it's a problem. The thing that you should all know and to make known to your people is that you can take these tubes down to Lowe's. They'll take them gladly. I've done them, on many occasions. There's never been any question. And, and the little curlicue CFLs as well contain mercury. So I would, strongly advise that you take advantage of that service that's provided by Lowe's and I think Home Depot and the rest. The other thing I'd like to talk about is the issue of the complaint hotline. We do have a complaint hotline posted in every nursing home, goes to the state. The problem is it doesn't work very well, and I'd like to just read a short paragraph or two from a news article that came in out of Buffalo News yesterday, actually. And they report that the State Department of Health in the last 5 years investigated complaints through this hotline among 35 nursing homes in Erie and Niagara counties and failed to provide adequate staffing to care for residents. Yet the agency substantiated only 6 out of 145 allegations, according to the records the Buffalo News obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request. And the reason why this happens is that there is no staffing law in the state of New York. Many other states will have a staffing law saying you have to have so many people on duty at a at a certain time, yet New York State does not. And what I'd like to point out is that there are thousands of nurses today that you might see picketing one place or another because on the floor or coming up to the Assembly and the Senate in the state of New York is a law, is a minimum staffing law. And this is being opposed by the nursing home operators and by the hospitals who would prefer to have more freedom. I think it's something that should be considered. I know that when I've looked at in these complaints and seen how they've been handled by the Department of Health on nursing homes, unless something very bad happens to happen, that they can go back and say this is because you didn't have a sufficient staff there to dispense medications, or you left somebody in a shower, or something like that. These things end up being resolved by, there's no minimum, there's no law here, nothing saying that we have to have 5 people there at a night. And sometimes somebody calls off and they say, well, we'll have to do it with 4 tonight or whatever. So it's just it's a horrible situation. I know that you wouldn't want to see your parents in that situation. And I thank Mr. Loeb for bringing this up. But there are some additional challenges there in addition to just the hotline. There is some legislation probably that we could look at. And thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? President Duffy.
Good morning, and thank you, Supervisors Wild and Driscoll, for attending our Investor Summit, and also thank you to the board for supporting our budget advocacy to the state. I just want to reiterate that although SUNY Adirondack is in good fiscal shape, many of my colleagues across the state are not. And the funding that we receive from the state is critical to stabilize our community colleges. And I would also ask for those of you who are involved with NYSAC to be able to maybe bring your voice stronger to the state as a county organization to help my colleagues across the state as well as your own community college. So thank you.
Thank you, President Duffy. And as we move forward with our infrastructure program, of course, you'll be asked to input on that as well, so we can get a clear picture on your short and long-term capital needs of the college. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Announcements. Mr. Garrity.
Yeah, I'd like to remind people on the hazardous materials. All the transfer stations are run by the town. So the towns run the transfer stations, not the county. So what we need to do is probably do a little bit better job of identifying the materials that you don't want taken to your transfer stations. Probably looking at some proper signage and proper training. I agree. I'm sure the operator of a transfer station, if somebody brings in something that's questionable, he's going to say, "Oh, throw it in the dumpster, and we'll take care of it." But I think that's one thing. Education is key. But I also think that we as a county, if we're responsible for the overall, we ought to start getting some better signage out, some better posters out, identifying the materials that really shouldn't go into the landfills. And I think we've been a little lax on that. You change personnel, you don't really sit there and train them on that. But I think that's important. The other thing is, too, I'm amazed to sit here and listen sometimes of, I crafted this or I crafted that. It's not about it's about us as a board. When these things come up, for whether it be the Civic Center or any of the things that we decide on a full board. It's usually put the vote of the board. So I just like to remind everybody, it may be a small working group, but it's this board that passes all these ideas along, whether they're pro or con. And sometimes we agree 100%, sometimes we don't. So it's not about it's about we as a board of supervisors. I think sometimes that gets lost.
Thank you, Mr. Garrity. Supervisor Simpson.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to let everybody know that they're invited to the Brant Lake Winter Carnival tomorrow. Starts at noon, goes till dusk. There's fireworks, there's Adirondack curling, there's a skating rink, outhouse races at 4 p.m. with a nice prize, and there's frying pan toss, which I will not be there, but Supervisor Leggett, I think, will be participating in that. So we can get out all of our political frustrations out on throwing that frying pan. Maybe come home with a prize.
Are you guys the targets?
I'm going to be in New York City, but Mr. Leggett will take that on.
Supervisor Loeb.
Good, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make a comment about the bones that were found in Lake George. I have great respect for Supervisor Dickinson and his fine comments, but there was been several write-ups in the Post-Star about this issue, and you know, it's oftentimes in life, it's not what's said, but what isn't said. Now, it was said that Supervisor Dickinson said 6 to 8 skeletons. I think the Post-Star said 12. So there's a lot of ambiguity. So when I'm concerned about what hasn't been said, and in all of his comments, there's not been one mention of Jimmy Hoffa.
They're working on it.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Mr. Beatty. A motion to adjourn second. Mr. Dickinson on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.